Good morning. It's quite a fresh morning. The temperature's 4 degrees and I'm standing on Lambeg Bridge. Quite a scenic spot. Quite a number of waterfalls there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the Lambeg River. That's the beach trees up there are scenic. Very pretty. Most of the leaves down. I haven't come this morning to video the scenery, beautiful though it is. I've come to video this church here. This is Lambeg Parish Church, and Lambeg was established in 1823 really. This row of houses called Church Hill, obviously because of the church. Big missile fish there. Well, yes, there it is. And my dear friend Susan Beattie is buried in the churchyard at the back here overlooking the Lambeg. Susan and I spent many years teaching together at Newtonbreda High School. But anyway, Lambeg Parish Church. This church can date its foundations really from the early 1300s. A monastic site was on this site here, dating from 1306. It was founded here by the mendicant friars who were connected to St. Francis of Assisi, and they were sometimes known as the Grey Friars. So I presume that's the same bunch as Grey Friars Bobby over in Edinburgh, the famous dog story that slept on its master's grave. There's a tombstone in here dating from 1626. So it is, parts of this churchyard are very old. But this is the Lambeg Parish Church, and I really do, I love old church buildings like this. Architecturally fabulous, and so interesting, and historically fabulous as well. I'm just going to have a dander round. Present church dates from the late 1500s, 1598. The original old church ruins that were here are obviously long gone, but this is what remains. In 1737, the Chapel of Lambeg was consecrated by the Bishop of Down and Connor, Dr. Francis Hutchison. The only original part of the church from that time is the tower, and it at one time was surrounded by a wooden cupola, and there was a weathercock up the top. That's gone now too. In 1849, the church was completely rebuilt by celebrated architect Mr. Butterfield. Don't know his first name, so there you go. Originally, the church was built for about 200 people, so because people were coming in to the north part of Ireland, Ulster, to escape persecution in Europe and also in Scotland, because these were Huguenots, and they were industrious people, and they were coming in to Ulster at this time. So the church population really was growing significantly. So instead of 200, the church was rebuilt in 1849 to accommodate almost 500. There's a church bell in there, and it was bought from Lambeg Parish in 1895, and it weighs 12 tons. No, not 12 tons, 12 hundredweight. And there's a sexton's house around here somewhere too, or it was around here, and it was built for £210, a princely sum. This churchyard that I've walked through, and there's many new graves here, and that's the lagan away down at the bottom there. This churchyard is around 1.5 acres, so it's of a considerable size. The old churchyard, obviously, on this side. I'm just going through the arch here, and I'll take a run round those graves in a wee minute. But I'm really concentrating on the church for the time being. Electricity was put into the church in 1933, so we've come a long way since then. New rectory was built in 1957 for the princely sum of 5,900. You wouldn't get a wall for 5,900 today. And there are approximately 450 families attached to the church at the present time. So let's take a wee dander around it and see what we can see. Very, very picturesque. Nice to see seats out here. You know, I just love old graveyards like this, and I could come and sit in here with a flask of tea and just enjoy nature and all the rest of it. Of course, churchyards are often places of sadness and grief and loss. No getting away from that, folks. One day, it'll be my turn too. But until then, peculiar there, the rounded end. And there's all sorts of wee differences in the roofing here. Very, very picturesque. And I'm glad I didn't come on the motorbike because it's absolutely Baltic. Don't want to stand on that grave there. Richard Niven, Crome Hill. Never heard of Crome Hill. The leading families, and a lot of them were Huguenot by extraction, fleeing persecution, as I say. And they had names like Wolfenden, and the Wolfendens arrived here in the 17th century, and they were paper and linen mill owners, and I believe this might actually be their big grave. And it's a wee bit difficult to get in, but all the inscription, there we go. I would have liked to have got in there, but I don't honestly think there's an awful lot to see. And there was barbers in here. William Barber established Lambeg in 1823, and some of his family married into the Andrews, and that's the Titanic Andrews connection. Thomas Andrews, I think one of the architects of the Titanic, and the Barbers were responsible for Hildon Mill. And then there's Richardson's, and they arrived here in 1680, fleeing, as I say, persecution in Scotland. So I'm just trying to track some of these headstones down. But as you can see, an awful lot of them are so difficult to read. Can't really read those. And there's a grave in here, S.A. Peelan, and there's a very sad story attached to it, because S.A. Peelan was a young girl, and her lover sailed to America, and he was going to come back for her, and he did come back for her, but in the meantime some swine had told S.A. that he had married a girl over in America, and S.A. was only 21, and she died of a broken heart apparently, and she was buried in a bridal dress, and she had her bridal wreath placed on her headstone, and her tomb is marked, and I can't see it just yet, but I'll try and find it. It should be easy enough to find it. Her tomb is marked by a broken column, which is the symbol of mortality and transition from life to heavenly existence. There's a lot of ministers buried in here, and remarkably, quite a number of them were Catholic, and they came from Derryaghy, and you know, this is quite strange, because in other graveyards that I've come across, the Protestant graves are separated from the Catholic graves. But we have ministers and Catholic ministers side by side in here. I mean, that is remarkable. I was really surprised at that. (1815). In fact, in some of the graveyards that I have visited, they have an underground wall built, constructed specifically to separate the Catholic dead from the Protestant dead. I mean, that's complete madness, but nevertheless, it happened. There's a grave headstone that has survived the ravages of time. Died 1810. That's quite old, and it's remarkably new looking. There's a Masonic grave. You don't often get Masonic graves as obvious as that. Look at that, the big rose window. Wow. Excellent. There we go. 1737. The tower. And that would have been the only part of this building that was consecrated back then by the Bishop of Down and Connor, or Mr. Hutchinson. bright morning, but very nippy. Very nippy indeed. Let's see what this one is. Right. 1821. This one dates from, died 1700. And just to emphasise what I was saying about the Huguenots here, this headstone is titled Huguenots, but that's not the family name. The family name is Boomer. And this is Captain Walter Charter Boomer is mentioned here. Ulster Division, killed in action. Bagel Air, 1918, buried Belgium, age 27. A lot of military graves always, and there's more Boomer over there. Yes, this is the hard to miss Barber family plot that I mentioned earlier. And there's a lot of Barbers in here. And this reads like a family history. And I just can't read it. Just the sort of glassy marble texture there, which is a bit of a shame. Now this whole wall has got some of the leading folks of that time. And you get this kind of wall with headstones built into it in the city cemetery as well. Can't just see with the sun. And this is the grave I was looking for. This is the grave of S.A. Peelman, the girl who pined away for her lost love, and of course her love came back and found that she had died. Some swine had told her lies. And it's a pity this isn't cleaned up so that I could read it. It'd be a job getting in there. Thy love was wonderful, passing the love of something or other. It's a sad, sad situation. People, whether it was she was deliberately told this by maybe another suitor, or whether it was a mistake, but I'm trying to see whether there's a date on here, but I can't see a date, unfortunately. And I can't make this out. There you go. And there's a Richardson grave. I mentioned the family Richardson. Yeah. As being mill owners. I've just found the grave of my dear friend Susan. Susan Alexandra Beattie, born 6th of March 1950, died 11th of July 2007. She died of rampant cancer. And I went to see her shortly before she died. We were on holiday whenever she died, so I wasn't there for the funeral, and she was sitting up in bed, and she was commiserating with me, and I just found it remarkable to see her Christian faith and assurance shine through. She was sitting smiling, telling me not to be crying. And here's where we are, looking over the Lagan, which is just down in behind that first row of trees. And there's another Wolfenden grave, or plot, that I missed earlier. And right at the back of the church, almost hidden, is this war grave. 6857 Rifleman J. McGurk, Royal Irish Rifles, 24th of July 1916, aged 19. Probably dead on the fields of France. Oh dear. Oh dear. Such sad stories you come across. Only 20. You bring a child up and you lose him at 20. Through an accidental drowning. And I am delighted to have met Rev Eddie Coulter, who's the minister of this fabulous church, and he has allowed me to get inside. And this very rarely happens, folks, as you know. This is absolutely wonderful. Now, obviously, an awful lot of this has been replaced and refurbished.
1990s, 1992 to early to about 1994-5, they redid the floor, underground heating, replaced the pews.
It suffered extensively from damp.
Yeah, it's all been sorted out now.
But this is the problem with old churches.
They take up about 25%
of your income
every year. So you can put 25% aside every year.
These windows are absolutely marvellous.
Yes, you go ahead.
I'll go right round the top. And this is just wonderful. And we think that the organ here dates from early 1900s. But this is a marvellous job that they've done. These older buildings suffered extensively from from the ravages of damp. So look at come and visit on a Sunday morning, or if there's a service on a Sunday evening. It's Rev Eddie Coulter, and there's the war dead from the First World War, and quite a number. And those names gives you an idea of the families. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. But all modernised and up to date.
If you notice that we have they put a few screens in for anybody.
Yes, I've noticed that.
So
yes.
you can't hide from the preacher, you know.
You can't have a wee dose. That's many thanks for taking the time with me.
Oh, no, there's no problem.
That's absolutely brilliant.
Just thought it's in your interest.
There we go.
You're probably not much light, but anyway.
Brilliant. And that's up to the tower.
Yeah, right. I think, ladder up is too.
No, we'll not go there.
All right.
Many thanks. Right. Oh, that was just a joy. And I believe that the oldest grave of Margaret Wilson is in here in the north side of the graveyard, but I can't find it. And as I always say, folks, thanks very much. Lovely. What time's your Sunday morning service? 11 o'clock. Great stuff. And I didn't find Margaret Wilson's grave, but I found a whole stack of other ones. And it could well be that one. It could well be this one. But whenever the grave markings or the headstone markings are long wiped out, it's just so hard to know. But maybe the Reverend Coulter will get in contact once again and post me where he thinks the grave might be. It's in around here somewhere. And I found a grave over here. Yes, I mentioned Crome Hill. That's Crome Hill in front of us. Presumably the house that I can just glimpse at through the trees.